Hello guys and welcome to my channel Departure from the Usual. So today's shout out goes to Richard O'Neill. If you guys also want a shout out, then don't forget to subscribe the channel, like my video and comment down below. So today's case is about Peter Porco, his wife Joan Porco and their son Christopher Porco. They lived in Del Mar, New York, a suburb just outside the city of Albany. In March 2004, Christopher went to a trip, and while away, Christopher received an email from Joan Porco's account scolding him for failing classes at Hudson Valley Community College in New York. In the message, Joan and Peter complained to their son. His father wrote, "You just left and we can't believe our eyes as I look at your interim grade report. You know what they say? 3 strikes and you are out. Explain yourself." Several days later, Christopher replied in a message to his father, blaming the community college's registrar. He wrote, "But obviously they are incorrect. My lowest grade that I got on anything was a B on a physics test. Don't jump to conclusions. I'm fine." The relationship between the parents and their son was getting bitter day by day. There had been tension between Christopher and his parents about money, including over loans Christopher had taken out to pay his tuition and to finance his new Jeep. By this time, Christopher had already earned re-admission to the University of Rochester with a forged transcript from his previous college. After the fall 2003 semester, University of Rochester officials had forced Christopher to withdraw because of poor grades. When he was readmitted the following year, he took out a loan for $31,000 to pay his expenses, and at that time he faked his father's signature. But this fact was not known to his parents. Christopher was attempting to pay his fall 2004 tuition fees with the loan money. Earlier in the fall, he falsely told his parents that the University of Rochester was covering his tuition because a professor had misplaced his final exam from the previous fall semester. Then one day, Peter confronted his son about his dishonesty in an email. He wrote, "Did you forge my signature as a co-signer? What the hell are you doing? You should have called me to discuss it, and I'm going to tell them I'm not to be on it as a co-signer." The following day, Peter was notified that Christopher had also obtained a line of credit from Citibank to finance the Jeep he bought for himself, again using his father's name as a co-signatory. Peter once again wrote to his son, who had not answered his parents' phone calls in weeks. He wrote, "I want you to know that if you abuse my credit again, I will be forced to file forgery affidavits in order to disclaim liability, and that applies to the Citibank college loan if you attempt to reactivate it or use my credit to obtain any other loan." The email concluded, "We may be disappointed with you, but your mother and I still love you and care about your future." But Christopher, on the other hand, was not happy with his parents. And what happened next will shock you. On November 15th, 2004, Peter didn't show up to work at the Supreme Court in New York like he did every morning. Peter worked in Supreme Court in Albany, New York, but on 15th November 2004, he didn't show up to the work like he did every morning. The court officer that works with Peter at the courthouse decided that it would be a good idea just to go over to Peter's house and check on him, because Peter was very punctual towards his work and he never got absent at his work. The court officer Michael arrived at Peter's home. The officer knew that something terrible had happened, but he had yet to know that exactly what he will be dealing with. Once he went inside Peter's house, he encountered a bloodbath. He took another step inside, and right there on the right side, he saw 52-year-old Peter's lifeless body. Michael immediately called for backup and paramedics. Backup officers and paramedics arrived at the home and made their way upstairs and into the master bedroom. And this is where the first responders encountered Peter's wife Joan, who was clinging to her life. Right next to Joan laid a 3-foot-long axe. Before Joan was rushed to the hospital, investigators asked if she knew who did this to her. And when police asked if their son Christopher did this, she shook her head up and down, which meant a yes. The Albany County medical examiner performed an autopsy on Peter to get a better idea of what exactly happened in the house that fateful morning. The medical examiner counted 16 wounds to Peter's head with an axe. Immediately after discovering Peter and Joan, the police began their investigation to find out who could have done this to the couple. And the police find out that Peter and Joan have 2 sons, Christopher and Jonathan. Police quickly ruled out Jonathan as a potential suspect in the case because he was serving in the military, miles away from his parents' home. So it was impossible that Jonathan was involved. So once Jonathan was ruled out as a potential suspect, police quickly shift their attention to Christopher. Police were also seeing Christopher as a potential suspect because he had a history of stealing money from his parents and opening up lines of credit without their knowledge, forging their signatures, and much more. Police also found out that Christopher had even faked 2 burglaries at his parents' house and sold the stolen items like computers and laptops on eBay. Police decide to question Christopher about his whereabouts the night of the murder. He told police that he was at school the entire night. But the police got their hands on surveillance video that showed Christopher leaving school in his yellow Jeep. Police examined the route Christopher would have taken from his school to his parents' house. The route requires passing through 2 toll stations. Police contact the toll stations and collect the toll tickets that were passed out. They sent the tickets off to the crime lab in hopes that it would reveal valuable forensic evidence. The results came back and the crime lab was able to obtain a full DNA profile of Christopher on one of the toll tickets, proving that he actually crossed the toll heading to his parents' house that night. Police also came to know about that the Porco family had an alarm system that was disarmed the night of the attack with the master code. The phone line had also been cut. The only person outside of Peter and Joan that would have known the alarm code was their son, Christopher. Christopher was arrested for the murder of his father, Peter, and attempted murder of his mother, Joan. Now moving on to Joan, as I've already told you that she originally pointed out her son as the attacker, but when she fully recovered from her injuries, she stood behind her son. And she believed that Christopher was 100% innocent. But the amount of forensic and circumstantial evidences were overwhelming. Christopher's trial began on June 27, 2006, and on December 12, 2006, judge sentenced Christopher to 50 years to life on each count, totaling a minimum of 50 years in prison. The judge said, "I fear very much what happened in the early morning hours of November 15 is something that could happen again." And one of the most controversial murder trials in the New York State's history seemed to have reached its resolution. But due to Christopher and his mother's assertion of his innocence, what has not been fully resolved is whether a seemingly upstanding student is guilty of the unthinkable, ending the lives of the very people who gave him his own. What are your thoughts? on this case? Tell me in the comments below. And also, if you want to know about the world's dumbest criminals, then click the video on the left. I'll meet you next time with another true crime story from around the world. Until then, signing off.